there, fans, and welcome to another edition of Silver Screams. Tonight we are talking about Season 1, Episode 4 of Scream Queens Halloween. Ooh!
I love the beginning. Oh my god, it's Chanel-Halloween.
Oh my gosh. Chanel-Halloween, maybe, like, especially the fact that it started very procedural crime, like, these are their stories. And
then it turns into like some feel-good special or commercial
about Chanel giving back to her Instagram followers.
All 173 of them.
It was like 700 something.
Was it?
Yeah, but I mean, like, that's no big deal. Like, I don't have an Instagram, but like, I've got like 1,600 Twitter followers. Who cares? It doesn't mean anything.
When you're rich, you can do these things. Plus, all of these people had to give her their addresses, and I wouldn't trust her with that.
That's weird, yeah. And the fact, just some of the stuff that she gave them, too, was so ridiculous. Like, an apple with a razor in it. And I really wish I had looked this up before we started recording, because we went from one thing to another. But I really want to know if these were genuine fan reactions, because they were pretty great. I really do, and Scream Queens has been really good about reaching out to fans on social media. One of my favorite things that they did recently was if you tweeted at them to Rush Kappa, they would send you a picture of your user ID with a knife like stabbed into a picture frame. So I thought that was awesome.
Well, and I love their Comic-Con promos, and they had ice cream for ice cream, and they actually had ice cream that they were giving away.
Cool.
And you pretty much went up and they'd record a video of you screaming or saying that you were going to watch Scream Queens or something like that, and they just give you ice cream. It was like 100 degrees in San Diego, so they're like, here, have some blood-flavored ice cream. And I went, great.
Sounds awesome.
How loud do you want me to scream? I could totally do this.
Because it was disgusting in San Diego this year, guys. It was hot.
They said it was blood flavor, it was strawberry. I feel the need to clarify because this show...
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to a haunted house that's all set for murder, BTW, and then all of a sudden all the decorations are dead bodies.
The murder happened elsewhere.
Yeah, okay.
All of them.
But yeah, no, the opening both felt a little out of, there were two scenes in particular in tonight's episode that felt both out of place, but still on their own wonderful. And the opening was one of them, because
was the other one the talking?
Yeah,
yes.
the giving the mansplaining guy like a talking to.
Oh, that wasn't what I was thinking of, but yes, that one was lovely.
Oh, which one were you thinking of?
Where they're talking at the same time.
Oh, that was so great. That was fantastic. That was just a great bit of banter.
Oh yeah.
But this opening scene felt out of place, but at the same, because it didn't go with the flow of the rest of the narrative, because we picked, when the episode actually got going after the opening, we picked up right where we left off last week with Munsch getting interrogated by police, which don't live in a town where investigative reporters and police are bad at their jobs.
Let's never, ever, 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 ever break up.
Ever, ever, ever. But, so yeah, and so we can clearly see that Munsch is kind of off the hook, but the thing that we find out about her when our protagonist and our investigative reporter track down one of the few Kappas from 1995 that they were able to get a hold of, they get the full story, where Munsch, you know, according to her, because she very well could be lying,
she also baked an armadillo that was roadkill and served it for breakfast.
She could be crazy.
She might not be okay.
She very well...
she's not okay at the end of this. She's
she's dead. She's dead now. But at the time, she could have been mentally unstable given the traumatic experience that she went through, much like the lady who went through a traumatic experience and is stuck in the 90s perpetually forever and is gathering dolls and just wearing black.
That was one hell of a stinger.
Yeah, just generally being creepy. So what we have here is they go down and they get the quote-unquote full story from her, in that Munsch covered up, and strangely enough, Miss B had a really twisted way of getting rid of the body.
I have all the implements in the kitchen to make sausages out of her body. I can sell them at the farmer's market on Sunday, or just feed them to these bitches. Like, wow!
Yeah!
Someone is very tired of being maligned by the Kappa house.
What's weird to me is that Munsch
Cannibalism is an answer.
Well, that these two, Munsch and Miss B, both didn't have the time or patience to put up with Kappa shenanigans like that. But like when we see them at the beginning of the series, Miss B is essentially under Chanel's boot heel, and the president is grasping at straws to try to strike at Chanel.
I feel like Miss B just kind of gave up
after
that long.
I don't know. But yeah, it's something interesting to think about how somebody who literally talked about making sausages out of a dead body and then feeding them to the people responsible for her death. I mean, to go from that to being somebody who won't stand up for herself when she's being forced to clean a floor with a toothbrush with a toothbrush that big.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It makes me wonder if something else changed within the last 20 years.
Although we did get confirmation that she actually is straight up dead.
Yes.
And that all of the bodies that we've seen murdered that later disappeared are straight up dead.
Yeah. They're super dead. But with this whole scene, Dean Munsch took the girls out, forced them to bury this girl's body, and then took them back, made them wear hoods so none of them knew. And she gave this really creepy but great monologue about how she's secretly their guardian angel, even though they think she's a monster for doing this, which she is a monster. If this story is true, she is a monster.
Yeah, oh my god. Because these things happen. And then again, I guess the way that the story has been going, they could well have blamed her. I'm sure there would have been an investigation, but that wouldn't necessarily mean
she said it was over. She said it was her career on the line, basically. But we see that not only in this scene, but also in the scene when she's released from police and is essentially blackmailing Grace's dad into going to a party with her as her date. She's just as manipulative as Chanel. And in a lot of ways, probably worse. I mean, because Chanel is self-absorbed, yes, but this is somebody who is, but at the same time, I don't want to say harmless because she did kill someone, but at the same time, I feel like Munsch, given her experience, is a lot worse.
She's also self-absorbed, but she is
in a different way.
In a very different way.
Yeah. With Chanel, you just kind of write it off as somebody being young and stupid. But with the Dean, her being self-absorbed, as well as hiding under the guise of, academic integrity and everything like that, it makes everything she does so much worse.
Was the Dean ever a Kappa?
We don't know. I would assume not, since she's not in the alumni network chapter, whatever.
True.
Otherwise, she would probably have a lot more sway with what actually happens in Kappa.
True. Or she might have been rejected at one point.
Yeah, because we find out that the security guard actually enrolled in the college and pledged to Kappa, but because they were racist assholes, didn't let her in.
They told her no.
Yeah, and
they basically told her the African American fraternity is down the way, and it's this one. She's like, no, I want to be here. They're like,
no, you don't. Which, and again, this was 1988. That was the year. So the fact that, it doesn't surprise me in any way, but at the same time, they made her so ashamed that she dropped out of school the next day.
And enrolled in community college, and then became a security guard.
Which,
given the trajectory of her life.
Yeah, given the amount of racism and murder forcing students to drop out of this school and disappear forever, there are I'm really wondering what the turnover rate is at this university.
Is this a private school or a state school?
I
feel like it's a private school.
I don't know about private school, but it looks like it's prestigious enough that, its reputation is really important. Probably one of those ones that likes to think it's an Ivy League school, even though it's not.
Well, my point is, if it was a state school, it would have been investigated way before now.
Yeah, a private institution can probably get away with a lot more. Having gone to a private institution. But then again, depending on the private institution, some of those are looked at even more carefully because they're privately owned or, non-profits, quote unquote.
Then again, we live in a... Blah. I can't word. This bodes well for tonight. The world created here is a Ryan Murphy world, and he likes to crank things up to 11. We saw that a lot.
Hyperbole, yep.
Thank you. That is perfect. Where everything is very much exaggerated. We saw that a lot in Glee, and we see a lot of the same hallmarks of that here. And so we're thinking, oh, in a real world, yeah, this would have been investigated. This is a Ryan Murphy world.
Yeah, this is the world where like the police dismissed the interrogation after a couple of questions.
And where a 911 operator dismissed someone's call because they were at a haunted house.
Because it was Halloween, which, granted, yeah, I guess it's good to keep a healthy level of skepticism, but when there have been reported murders going on, or at the very least incidents happening, you need to be on high alert, especially during Halloween, which
I would imagine that the police are on high alert on Halloween anyway, because so much stuff happens.
Yeah, I feel like cops aren't lax during that time, that if anything, that's when they need to be more, you know, vigilant, because that's when teenagers do dumb stuff. And not just teenagers, but terrible, scary adults too.
Yeah, people take it as carte blanche to do whatever they want, and that winds up being, you know, petty vandalism and occasionally murder and awful things. So someone saying, I'm here, there are a lot of actual real-life dead bodies, you need to come, shouldn't be dismissed with, oh, it's, you know, it's the really good haunted house, you're fine, it's just effects. I'm going to be going there when my shift is over. No,
I heard it's awesome!
911 operator have failed at your job. You should be passing this on to the police, but no.
I had a nightmare like that once where we went to horror nights and there were actual terrible people. I want to say it was the cast of House of a Thousand Corpses that were after me. That was a weird dream.
We've had enough!
Which BTW guys, horror nights this year, really good if you are in the Los Angeles or Orlando areas. Universal Horror Nights. Go see it.
I'm going to the Mickey Halloween party. That's about the speed I'm at.
I mean, they have the fireworks show.
Yeah,
that'll be
do.
fun. Anyway, so another, I do want to touch on it, but the other scene that felt really out of place was the scene of the Chanels going to get lunch because they're advertising the rival pumpkin patch fundraiser to try to undermine what Zendaya? I don't know her name either. Grace's best friend, who's running for Kappa president.
I can barely remember Grace's name half the time. The only reason I remember Chanel's name is because there's four of them.
Yeah, pretty much. But they're taking Hester out and they're advertising the pumpkin patch, and they have a run-in with this guy. First of all, they're eating cotton balls for lunch, which is disgusting.
And really bad for you.
And Chanel kind of, we see, I don't know if she's we don't know if she's kind of putting on a facade at the moment to try to just kind of cater to her underlings, or if it's like a legitimate, she's losing grasp of this person that becoming a Kappa made her become, and that she's slowly becoming a real person again. Because she's
honestly,
like, I want pizza.
The fact that she's still alive at this point makes me think that that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Because usually in horror movies, people like her are the first to go.
Well, she's experiencing the most development because she's been dumped. She's in her own mind, she's the one that has to overcome the most adversity, and she's been the one
killed a person.
She's been the one who has had the most obstacles thrown in her way, and it is slowly changing her behavior, not necessarily in a positive way. But they have this run-in with this guy who makes this really obnoxious comment about Halloween costumes and how he's going as a guy who's totally having sex with you.
So who wants to go with me?
Which,
and
again,
just kind
hyperbole, but people like that do exist.
Honestly, I feel like that's probably something that's been used in real life.
Oh yeah,
at least
absolutely.
Once. I honestly don't see that. The pickup line I don't see as hyperbole. The ensuing conversation, yes.
But what was weird about it is that, first of all, Chanel actually learned something from a class that she was forced to take. And second of all, she stood up, and not in like a way that's like step down underling in that normal kind of condescending way that she normally does when she's just generally talking down to people. In a way, she's really justified in a lot of the things that she's saying. they were not justified by acting violently. That totally undermines any and all points that they had.
But oh, it was beautiful.
It was pretty hilarious.
So nice.
And the fact that they kind of stood together as a team was really weird, given that they're constantly trying to stab each other in the back. Hester had an entire subplot this episode about trying to seduce Chad in really weird, kinky, awful ways.
But that is how we found out that the haunted house had actual dead bodies.
Which, even Chad has his limits, apparently.
Yes, he likes the idea, but once you get down to the nitty-gritty, he's done.
I did like that right after they escaped, they just cut to that scene of them both at the cafeteria, like...
with these 1,000-yard stairs. Just like, no. Don't go to the haunted house, they have actual dead bodies. That sounds amazing. That's great. We should go to the haunted house, everybody. Yay! Like, who did not see that coming?
I did love the, no, that's the opposite of what I wanted.
Isn't it always?
But again, it is, and something we were talking about during the show was because the killer went down to kill the surviving Kappa that was in hiding, took the time to drag her body all the way back up to the haunted house, quote unquote, and then
it is now.
Well, it was viewed as haunted because of what 90s girl was doing, allegedly taking care of the baby. But anyway, so the killer either is our investigative reporter, our main character Grace, is either keeping tabs on them or was planning on doing away with this person anyway and just happened to get there after our main character did. So I'm inclined to believe it's somebody keeping tabs on them.
And I threw out the idea that the murderer, one of the murderers, might actually be Grace. I can see this series doing that because, why not?
No, that's definitely a distinct possibility.
I can also see it being Chanel.
Oh yeah,
Chanel Prime.
I would like to believe it's not Chanel, just because I like the idea of her having a character arc and character growth. I like that idea, but I feel like that's not necessarily going to happen. It would be interesting though, because she is one of the people who has the most room and development to go.
Well, we've had a little bit of development with everyone, but she is definitely...
Yeah, and right now Grace is suspecting that she's actually, because we got a confirmation that the baby was a girl.
I know my peas and carrots.
Yeah. So she is now under the assumption that she may very well have been the baby, even though her dad says that's not true. Which, BTW, this guy really needs to be thrown out as a film studies major because he was making his kids watch Children of the Corn, which is a terrible horror movie, BTW. It's just awful.
Well, and we talked about this last time. He's looking at story implications, but he's not looking at any of the techniques used to create that story. He doesn't have the right set of tools to analyze a film.
Well, and even the story elements that he was looking at, he was talking about childhood and escaping our past and what it means to have the children be the killers. That movie was more about being anti-religious extremism than it was about like, hey, look, creepy kids. Like that was the whole point, was the religious stuff. So I don't know. If you disagree, feel free to put your analysis of Children of the Corn in the comments section.
He's basically spending an entire class talking out his ass.
Yeah,
I mean, showing his kids some pretty screwed up horror movies. Some classic horror movies,
man.
But yikes.
Tact. Like, just because a movie's a classic doesn't necessarily mean it's good. Like,
and
show your kids some good movies,
and
guy.
And you warn your students before you say, we're going to watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because some people just may not be in for that.
Some people have trigger warnings, dude. Not cool. I would, like, watch the next episode, he's going to be making them watch, like, Child's Play or something.
Or Saw.
Which, anyway.
Saw 4.
Anyway, which, again, are fun movies, and I like them to varying degrees, but
not for
a film studies class. Not for whatever. Anywho, I just wanted to make that point, but I did like the point that Denise actually made before Zendaya. I'm gonna call her Zendaya. I think that's her name. She takes her aside when she makes her announcement that she's going to be running for Kappa president, and they're checking out the haunted house. She pulls her aside and is basically like, I'm going to be keeping an eye on you. And when I liked the idea that Zendaya can dismiss her because she's like, you look at me and see everything that was taken away from you, and you resent me for it. And that is a very interesting thing because the adults in this series all have chips on their shoulder from their past, whether it's the dean, whether it's Miss B, whether it's Grace's dad, or whether it's Denise. We all see that they carry chips on their shoulder from what happened and harbor a strange level of resentment for the generation that has come after them. In a way that's completely unfair, but at the same time you can kind of understand.
Well, have you seen the way people talk about millennials?
Yeah,
this isn't out of left field. This is a thing that occurs, unfortunately. And we also found out that Grace's mom died in a fire, and in a fire that destroyed all of her belongings and all of the records and Grace's
her birth certificate.
Like, you guys didn't have a fireproof lockbox? Really?
Also, the way
that
she
is
put
a
it,
thing.
which the way she put it, how convenient.
Extremely so.
How convenient. Although I don't think she's the baby. Any predictions as to who, first of all, who our mastermind would be, and then who the baby might be, and or if they are the same person.
I still like the idea of the school board orchestrating everything.
I'm still
just to be like, screw it, we're done.
I'm still sticking with earmuffs, although I will say that seeing them try to beat the boys up, it makes me reconsider that because killing people requires a lot of manual labor. So I might reconsider my theories.
Still alive.
Mm-hmm.
Attempted murder.
Yeah, you called it. He's still alive. All right.
He's still kicking because he can't do anything else. Boo. Boo.
All right. Well, that basically.
I'm not a good person.
That basically wraps it up for this episode. Katie,
predictions. What do you think?
Oh, I'm still sticking with earmuffs. That's my prediction, and I'm sticking to it.
You know, I'm putting some of my eggs in the Grace basket. I would like to see that happen. I think it might point more towards the reporter guy she's been hanging out with, but I honestly think that Grace is going to be one of the murderers, if not the person planning this.
We'll see, because yeah, normally when the main character is the killer in horror movies, it's usually a split personality scenario. So it would be very interesting to see them actually do it and do it well and do it in a way that wasn't cliched and obnoxious.
And we know that it's an anthology series, so season 2 is going to be a different set of characters, a different location, all that noise, which makes you less inclined to think that the main character is going to make it to the next season.
Oh yeah, no, everybody is probably going to be dead by the time we get to the end of this season, and then they'll just...
We're going to be Hamlet. We're going to have one person left, so when the cavalry actually comes, it's like... Hi, Fortinbras. And then, guess what happened?
And then a la American Horror Story, they're just going to bring the same cast back to play different characters. It's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes.
Anywho, yeah, that does it for me. Katie, where can people go if they want to find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram at Kiaxet. That's Kiaxet.
I'm Megan. You guys can follow me on Twitter at TheMenguin. That's TheMenguin. Also, be sure to follow Silver Screams. That's Silver_Screams on Twitter. And find us on Facebook at Silver Screams. And again, if you guys have any horror movies or horror TV shows or horror episodes,
Halloween episodes of TV shows,
be sure to let us know in the comments below, or be sure to tweet at us, and we'll consider it. I don't know, maybe we're kind of busy.
Yeah, it'd be fun. It's a little bit fun.
I think so too. 'Tis the season, guys. You want to know. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you all next time.